Yeah, I hope that can be, that is legible for those at the back. Yeah? So again, good morning everyone, and in the interest of time, and I guess as a penalty for my being late, I am not going to go into a discourse on the budgetary powers of the President, but I am going direct into what I think is the reason for you to attend our morning's forum. So, the scope, if you don't mind, I'm going up because I'm small and you can't see me, and also so I can see what's on the screen. Alright, the scope of my presentation today is essentially on the powers of the presidency on the national budget, and excludes indirectly the president's powers with regards to the budgets of GOCCs, or the government-owned and controlled corporations, and the local government units. So when we talk of the budget, we usually refer to a budget of expenditures and sources of financing. I will tackle the expenditure side, Ernest will tackle the resources side. So we are ducks to water, we are always together. Next please. Now, here is an enumeration of what I think are the key budget powers of the presidency. One is the setting of the overall magnitude of the budget, which means the totality of the budget. Second, the authority to spend or authorizing the expenditure of public funds. Third, the authority to suspend appropriations or to withhold certain approved appropriations already legislated by Congress. Fourth, the very popular, or you might call unpopular, use of savings. Fifth, the approval of so-called lump sum appropriations. And finally, the President's authority to grant incentives to all personnel of the government in the executive branch. There are many others, but I think those are the ones that are most important. So first, on the power of the President to set the budget. Where does this come from? Under the Constitution, President prepares and submits a budget of expenditures as the basis of the General Appropriations Act. In other words, Congress passes the GAA every year on the basis of a proposal submitted by the executive. Without the President's submittal of the budget, no budget can be prepared by Congress. Mind you, this is the only law that must come from a proposal submitted by the President. And that is why, if the President fails to submit the budget on time, it can be a ground for her impeachment. Of course, nobody will want that to happen. So, any other law can be initiated by Congress except for the General Appropriations Act. No, not yet. So, the other source is that the President's power is limited by the admonition of the Constitution on Congress not to increase the appropriations recommended by the President. In other words, when the President says that the budget is 1.5 trillion, Congress cannot increase that 1.5 trillion. It can reduce it or it can realign it, but it cannot increase. And this, I think, is a very powerful tool for the President to ensure fiscal discipline. Now, on the other hand, another check to that power is the President's power to veto any particular item or items in the appropriation bill. This is what we call the line item veto power of the President. The President's line item veto only exists for three types of bills: the appropriation bill, the revenue bill, and the tariff bill. All other bills can only be either accepted in full or rejected in full by the President, except for these three bills, which are subject to the so-called line item veto. Now, what is this line item veto? It means that if the President does not like any particular provision in the General Appropriations Bill, the President can say, I delete this particular provision or this particular appropriation. Of course, when something is deleted, it cannot be restored. So these are powerful powers that the President has. In practice, as I said, it is a very effective instrument for fiscal discipline because expenditures are limited to the identified sources of revenues and financing. In other words, you cannot imagine, just say, okay, I'll just think about where revenues will come from. You can't do that. You have to specify. And also, you allocate the budget. In other words, discretion is limited to a lot of extent. However, this power of setting the level of the budget is challenged by three major factors. One is the fact that there are so-called carryover appropriations in the budget, or we call it the continuing appropriations. What this means is that if certain funds are unexpended at the end of a previous year, those unexpended funds may be used to add to the appropriations of the succeeding year. So what you have is a budget that is set plus an additional budget from carryover appropriations. Second, just as an example, in 2008, as much as 132 billion or 10% of the total appropriation for that year was added to the budget. That's not a small amount. That's a lot of money. In 2008, also, there's this so-called unprogrammed funds. Now, in addition to the so-called unprogrammed funds, you have what you call, in addition rather to the so-called continuing appropriations, you have unprogrammed funds, which are unfunded funds included in the General Appropriations Act that are supposed to be standby appropriations but are, in the course of the year, also released and added to the budget. In 2008, 29 billion, the entire amount of unprogrammed funds appropriated